The silver space station hung against the blackness of space like a giant metal flower. Inside, Commander Jack Hughes adjusted his uniform one last time before the meeting. His palms were sweaty. Today, he would become the first human to officially talk with the Galactic Federation of United Species. "Ready, sir?" asked Lieutenant Olivia Ray, standing by the door. "As ready as I'll ever be," Jack replied with a nervous smile. "Hard to believe we're actually here. For over 100 years, humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe. That question was answered in 2156 when strange signals were detected coming from near Jupiter. 1 year later, Earthships made contact with what they learned was just a small outpost of a vast alliance of alien species. Now in 2157, after humanity had proven they could travel faster than light, the Federation had finally invited Earth to send representatives. Jack and his small team were chosen for this historic moment. The door hissed open, revealing a large room with a curved window showing the stars outside. 5 aliens stood waiting. 3 were Valaxians, the most common species in the Federation. They looked almost human except for their blue-tinted skin and large, all-black eyes. The other 2 aliens were very different. One looked like a tall insect and the other seemed to float above the ground like a jellyfish. "Welcome, humans of Earth," said the tallest Valaxian. His voice came through Jack's translator earpiece in perfect English. "I am Academy Director Zixtor. We are honored to host the first official meeting between our peoples." Jack stepped forward and gave the greeting he had practiced. "The people of Earth thank you for this opportunity. We come with peaceful intentions and hope to learn from your advanced civilization." The alien smiled, showing teeth that looked surprisingly human-like. "The feeling is mutual, Commander Hughes. Your species has advanced remarkably quickly. We have been watching Earth for some time." Jack felt a chill at those words. "You've been watching us?" "Only from a distance," said another Valaxian, who introduced himself as Senior Strategist Kilva. He was shorter and older looking, with wrinkles around his dark eyes. "We monitor all developing worlds. It is our policy not to interfere until a species achieves faster than light travel." "And what have you seen?" asked Olivia, speaking for the first time. The aliens looked at each other before Zixtor answered. "We have seen great creativity and resilience, and also conflict. Your species fights wars with a frequency and intensity that is unusual." Jack nodded slowly. He had been warned this might come up. "Humanity has a complicated history, but we're working toward peace. The United Earth government has ended most international conflicts." "Most?" asked the third Valaxian, who hadn't spoken until now. This one was clearly younger, with a smoother face and curious eyes. "I am Cadet Mixlan. I study comparative cultures. Your history mentions many wars. Do you still have them?" Jack hesitated. "We have occasional conflicts. The Mars colonial dispute ended just 3 years ago, but these are smaller than the big wars of our past." The jellyfish-like alien made a bubbling sound that the translator didn't catch. Then Zixtor spoke again. "We find this fascinating but not concerning. All young species go through violent phases. The Federation has enjoyed peace for over 2,000 of your Earth years. We've almost forgotten what real conflict is like." Kilva, the older Valaxian, frowned. "Almost forgotten but not completely. Some of us believe we should study your military history more closely before rushing to integrate Earth into our systems." "Don't mind Kilva," said Zixtor with a wave of his hand. "He's from the old school of thought. The Federation Military Academy hasn't seen real action in generations. Our forces are ceremonial now, but we maintain them out of tradition." Jack and Olivia exchanged glances. The idea of a military that never fought seemed strange to them. "We would like to propose a cultural exchange," continued Zixtor. "This station, Harmonious Exchange, includes our academy where young cadets from all Federation species train to become officers. We invite some of your people to share Earth's culture with our students." "And what would we share exactly?" asked Jack. "Everything. Art, music, science, and yes, even your military history. Our cadets should understand the species they may one day welcome as allies." Olivia stepped forward. Sir, as a veteran of the Mars conflict, I volunteer to help with this exchange. Jack nodded. It made sense. Olivia had fought but also understood the cost of war. She could present Earth's military history honestly, without glorifying violence. Excellent, said Zixtor. Cadet Mixlan will be your main contact at the Academy. Our cadets are very excited to learn about humans. You're the first new species we've contacted in nearly a century. Mixlan bowed slightly. It will be an honor to learn from you, Lieutenant Ray. Over the next week, more humans arrived at the station. Among them was Peter Donovan, a cultural attaché with a background in history and education. Together with Olivia, he began preparing materials about Earth for the alien cadets. We should be honest, Olivia told Peter as they worked. No point hiding our wars or pretending we're more peaceful than we are. They'll find out eventually. Peter agreed. But we should balance it. Show them our art, our music, our humanitarian efforts too. Meanwhile, Jack met with Federation officials to discuss trade and diplomatic relations. The aliens seemed eager to bring Earth into their community, though Kielva remained cautious. Your species evolved on a harsh world, the older Valaxian told Jack during one meeting. You faced predators, natural disasters, and each other. It made you strong but dangerous. The Federation hasn't faced real danger in millennia. Is that why your military is just for show? Asked Jack. Kielva's expression grew serious. Yes, and it worries some of us. The universe is vast, Commander. Perhaps not everything out there is friendly. At the Academy, Olivia and Peter began giving presentations to the alien cadets. The young aliens, mostly Valaxians but including a dozen other species, were fascinated by humans. They asked endless questions about Earth. One day, Mixelan approached Olivia after a session about Earth's art history. Your people create such beautiful things, said the young Valaxian, yet you also fight wars. How do you balance such opposite abilities? Olivia thought for a moment. Maybe they come from the same place. The passion to create, and the will to protect what we love. Mixelan seemed to ponder this. Tomorrow you will show us your military history, yes? Many cadets are excited. We've never seen real warfare, only simulations and stories. Olivia nodded, feeling uneasy. Yes, but remember, what might seem exciting from a distance is horrible up close. I understand, said Mixelan, though it was clear the young alien really didn't. None of the cadets did. How could they? They had never known real conflict, never lost friends in battle, never seen cities destroyed. Tomorrow they would get their first glimpse of humanity's darkest capability, and nothing in the Academy would ever be the same again. The next morning, Olivia woke up with a knot in her stomach. Today was the day she would show the alien cadets Earth's military history. She had spent hours with Peter selecting footage that would be honest but not too shocking. They wanted to show the reality of war without traumatizing students who had never seen violence. Are you sure about this? Asked Peter, as they walked toward the Academy's main hall. We could stick to the sanitized version. Just show them military parades and training exercises. Olivia shook her head. They need to understand us completely, the good and the bad. If Earth joins the Federation, they should know who they're dealing with. The main hall was already full when they arrived. Over 200 cadets from a dozen different species sat in curved rows facing a large screen. Most were Valaxians, but Olivia spotted the insect-like arachnids, some floating medusans, and even a few reptilian draconians. At the back of the room stood Academy Director Zixtor and Senior Strategist Kielva. Mixelan hurried over to greet them. Lieutenant Ray, everyone is very excited. We've never had a presentation like this before. I hope it meets your expectations, said Olivia, though she worried it might exceed them in ways the young cadet couldn't imagine. They set up their presentation while the room buzzed with conversation. Peter would handle the technical aspects, while Olivia narrated. They had organized their materials into sections: ancient warfare, modern conflicts, and future defense technologies. Good morning, Olivia began once everyone was seated. Today, we will show you how Earth's military history shaped our society. War is part of human history, but it's important to understand we don't celebrate or glorify it. We study it to avoid repeating our mistakes. She nodded to Peter, who activated the first segment, a carefully edited montage of historical battles from ancient times through the 20th century. The images showed armies clashing but avoided the worst violence. The cadets watched with wide eyes. For most, this was their first glimpse of actual combat, even in this tame version. Olivia noticed some of them flinching at even these mild scenes. As human technology advanced, our weapons became more deadly, Olivia continued. The 20th century saw 2 world wars that killed millions of people. She was about to signal Peter to show the next segment when a light on the control panel began, blinking red. "Something's wrong," Peter whispered. He tapped at the controls. "The system is overriding our selections." Before Olivia could respond, the screen flickered and changed. Instead of their carefully curated footage, the screen now showed raw, unedited war footage from the archives. The bloody trenches of World War I appeared in vivid detail. Soldiers, charging across muddy fields only to be mowed down by machine gun fire, bodies piled in ditches, men choking on poison gas. "Shut it off!" Olivia hissed. But Peter was frantically working the controls. "I can't. It's locked out." The images changed to World War II. Cities bombed to rubble, civilians running from attacks, concentration camp victims staring with hollow eyes. Then came Vietnam, the Middle East conflicts, the water wars of the 2080s, and finally the brutal fighting of the Mars colonial dispute that Olivia herself had survived. The room had gone completely silent except for the sounds from the UAD footage, explosions, gunfire, and screams. Olivia looked at the cadets and felt sick. Many had turned pale blue, which she had learned was the Valaxian equivalent of humans turning white with shock. Some had covered their eyes or were staring in frozen horror. Mixlan sat rigid in the front row, eyes wide and unblinking. Finally, Zixtor rushed forward and physically pulled the power cable from the wall. The screen went black, but the damage was done. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded, his voice shaking. "These images. This can't be real." "It's real," Olivia said quietly. "All of it. That wasn't what we planned to show you, but it's from our actual history." A cadet in the third row suddenly stood up and ran from the room. Then another followed, and another. Soon dozens were leaving, some walking quickly, others running as if chased. "I don't understand," said Mixlan, still seated but trembling. "How could your people do these things to each other? How could anyone survive such horror?" Olivia had no simple answer. War brings out the worst in us, but also sometimes the best. Courage, sacrifice, standing up for others who can't defend themselves. Kilva approached slowly, his aged face grim. "I warned the council about this. Your species knows true combat in a way we have forgotten. Our military hasn't faced a real enemy in over 2,000 years. Our cadets train for a reality they've never experienced." By now, more than half the room had emptied. The remaining cadets sat in stunned silence or whispered urgently to each other. Peter worked to restart the system. "I don't understand what happened. The system somehow accessed our complete archives instead of the selected clips." "Someone may have tampered with it," suggested Kilva. "Not everyone in the Federation welcomes Earth's arrival. Some fear your influence on our peaceful society." Zixtor looked around at the nearly empty room and sighed deeply. "We should end this session. I need to speak with the Federation Council immediately." As they left the hall, Olivia noticed Mixlan still sitting alone, staring at the blank screen. "Rai, you okay?" she asked, sitting down beside the young cadet. "The people in that footage," Mixlan said softly. "The ones who were hurt? Did they recover?" "Some did. Many didn't. And you? You fought in the Mars conflict we saw at the end?" Olivia nodded. "Yes. How do you live with those memories?" It was a question Olivia had asked herself many times. "You learn to carry them. You remember the cost, so you work harder for peace. But you don't let the memories stop you from living." Mixlan was quiet for a long moment. I joined the academy because it was traditional in my family, 6 generations of military service. But our military doesn't fight. We just train and march in parades. I never understood what real fighting meant until today. Later that day, reports came from all over the academy. Dozens of cadets had filed formal resignation papers citing philosophical objections to military service or psychological incompatibility with combat roles. Olivia found Jack in the human quarters and told him what happened. Half the class walked out? Jack asked in disbelief. At least half. Maybe more by now. Zixtor is meeting with the Federation Council to discuss it. Peter is checking the system to see if someone sabotaged our presentation. Jack ran a hand through his hair. This could set back Earth's admission to the Federation. If they think we've traumatized their youth. It wasn't our fault, Olivia insisted. But maybe it's better this way. They should know the truth about humanity and war before they welcome us with open arms. That night, a message arrived for Olivia. It was from Mixelan. I have not resigned like the others. Instead, I have questions. Many of us do. We want to learn how humans face such darkness yet still find light. Will you teach us? Olivia stared at the message for a long time before replying with a single word. Yes. The next week was chaos at the academy. Every day, more cadets quit. The final count showed exactly half of the student body had resigned. The remaining cadets split into 2 groups. Most were simply too loyal to their traditions to quit, but a smaller group, led by Mixelan, actively sought out the humans to learn more. This smaller group began meeting with Olivia and Peter in the evenings. They gathered in a small classroom away from the main halls. Tonight, 15 cadets sat in a circle with the 2 humans. I still don't understand, said a Valaxian cadet named Rizvel. How do humans decide when violence is necessary? How do you know when to fight? Olivia thought carefully before answering. We fight when there's no other choice. When talking fails. When someone threatens those who can't protect themselves. But who decides when talking has failed? Asked another cadet. That's the hardest question, said Peter. Sometimes our leaders get it wrong. They start wars too quickly or for the wrong reasons. That's why we study our mistakes. Mixelan, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. I've been reading your history books. Humans fought many wars over territory, resources, or beliefs. But you also fought to stop oppression and cruelty. Olivia nodded. Yes. Some of our worst wars had the best reasons. We fought to end slavery, to stop genocide, to defend freedom. And that makes the horror worthwhile? Asked Rizvel. Not worthwhile, Olivia corrected. Nothing makes the horror worthwhile, but sometimes necessary. There's a difference. The cadets discussed this idea late into the night. They were struggling with concepts their society had forgotten centuries ago. Meanwhile, Jack was facing his own problems. The Federation Council had called an emergency meeting about the Earth situation. He stood before 20 alien representatives in a large chamber with curved walls. Commander Hughes, said the Medusan representative, floating slightly above his seat. Half of our academy cadets have resigned because of your war footage. Some are receiving psychological treatment for trauma. This is unprecedented. I understand, said Jack, but the footage was shown by accident. We had prepared a much gentler presentation. That is not the point, said a tall draconian. The point is that such footage exists at all. Your species has experienced violence on a scale we can barely comprehend. Zixtor stood up. May I speak? I have reviewed the security logs. The presentation system was indeed tampered with. Someone wanted the cadets to see the worst of human history. Who would do this? Asked Jack. Senior strategist Kielva, who sat in the back of the room, stepped forward. I believe someone wanted to sabotage Earth's admission to the Federation. By showing your violent past, they hope to turn us against you. Has it worked? Jack asked directly. The council chamber fell silent for a moment. Then the head of the council, an ancient Valaxian named Vortal, spoke for the first time. We are reconsidering the timeline for Earth's admission. Some believe we should study your species more carefully before proceeding. Jack felt his heart sink. This was a diplomatic way of saying they were pulling back from their earlier welcome. "I understand your concerns," he said. "But may I suggest that knowing the truth about humanity is better than pleasant lies? We have a violent past. We're not perfect, but we're working to be better, and we're honest about who we are." As Jack tried to salvage the diplomatic situation, Olivia continued working with the curious cadets. One evening, she brought in some other human representatives, including Frank Miller and Diane Ortiz, both veterans of Earth conflicts. "How do you sleep at night after seeing combat?" one cadet asked Frank. "Sometimes I don't," he admitted. "But it helps to remember why I fought. Not for glory or because I enjoyed it. I fought to protect people who couldn't fight for themselves." Diane nodded. "War is terrible. Anyone who enjoys it is dangerous. We fight because sometimes not fighting leads to worse outcomes, but we always look for other options first." These conversations started to change how the remaining cadets thought about their training. Mixlan especially took these lessons to heart. One day she approached Olivia with a datapad. "I found something strange in our academy archives," Mixlan said. "Our history books say the Federation has been peaceful for 2,000 years. But I found old records that were locked away. They mention wars and conflicts from long ago." Olivia looked at the datapad with surprise. "Your people have fought wars too?" "It seems so. But these records were hidden, moved to restricted archives. It's like someone wanted us to forget this, part of our history." Across the station, Peter had made a discovery of his own. He had been investigating who might have tampered with their presentation system. His search led him to a sealed communication from an unknown location outside the Federation. He brought his findings to Jack immediately. "Someone sent a command to access our complete war archives during the presentation," Peter explained. "But the signal came from outside the station, possibly from outside Federation space entirely." Jack frowned. "You think someone beyond the Federation borders wanted the cadets to see our war footage? Why?" "I don't know. But it wasn't a Federation citizen trying to keep Earth out. This came from somewhere else." That evening, Jack called a meeting with his team and their closest allies among the Federation officers, including Kilva and Zixtor. He also invited Mixlan, who had become a key link between the humans and the remaining cadets. "We have two mysteries," Jack said to the group. "First, who tampered with our presentation and why? Second, why the Federation's own military history has been hidden from its people." Kilva looked uncomfortable. "I can answer the second question. After the last great conflict, our leaders decided that peace was only possible if we forgot how to wage war. They gradually removed military history from our education, keeping only ceremonial traditions." "But why?" asked Olivia. "Because our last war was nearly our extinction," said Kilva quietly. "Our weapons were too powerful, our hatred too deep. When it ended, the survivors swore never to fight again. Over time, this became not just a promise but a deliberate forgetting. And now half your military cadets have quit because they saw what real war looks like," said Jack. "While someone outside your borders wanted this to happen." The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Finally, Mixlan spoke up. "Perhaps whoever is out there wanted to weaken us. If half our future officers quit and the rest remain unprepared for real conflict, then the Federation would be vulnerable," finished Kilva. "Precisely my concern." Zixtor looked troubled. "But we have no enemies. The Federation encompasses all known advanced civilizations." "All known civilizations," corrected Jack. "But what about unknown ones?" As if answering his question, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors. "Emergency alert," announced the station's computer. "Incoming communication from Outpost 7, Priority 1. A screen on the wall activated, showing a Valaxian officer. His uniform was torn and smoke-filled. The background: "Federation Command, we are under attack. Unknown vessels appeared without warning. They've destroyed half the station. We need immediate—" The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving only static. Zixtor stood frozen. His blue, face pale with shock. Outpost 7 is one of our most distant research stations. Nothing like this has happened in centuries. Jack looked at Olivia, then at Mixlan and the others. I think the Federation's long peace just ended, and someone wanted your military cadets to quit before it happened. Chaos erupted in the Federation after the attack on Outpost 7. More reports soon followed. 3 other distant stations had also been attacked. In each case, the pattern was the same. Unknown ships appeared without warning, destroyed key systems, and disappeared before help could arrive. The Federation Council gathered for an emergency session. Jack and his team were invited to attend, a sign of how quickly things had changed. Just days ago, the Council had been considering delaying Earth's admission. Now they wanted human military advice. We must send a diplomatic mission, said Vortal, the head of the Council. These attacks could be a misunderstanding. Perhaps they mistook our outposts for something else. 4 separate attacks are not a misunderstanding, argued Kielva. This is deliberate aggression. But we don't know who they are or what they want, said another council member. We should try to communicate before taking hostile action. The EO debate continued for hours. The Federation had no protocol for actual warfare. Their military was designed for ceremonies and tradition, not combat. Their last real conflict had ended 2,000 years ago, and they had deliberately forgotten how to fight. Jack watched with growing concern. Finally, he stood up and addressed the council. Council members, while you debate, these unknown attackers could be planning their next move. Earth has experienced many conflicts. We've learned that when someone attacks without provocation or communication, they rarely have peaceful intentions. What do you suggest, Commander Hughes? Asked Vortal. Let us review the attack footage. Perhaps we can identify tactics or patterns that will tell us what we're dealing with. And I recommend putting your fleet on alert, just in case. The council reluctantly agreed. Jack gathered his team in a secure room to analyze the limited footage salvaged from the attacked outposts. Frank Miller and Diane Ortiz, both combat veterans, joined them. So did Mixalan and a few other Academy cadets who had shown interest in human military thinking. They watched the footage in silence. The attacks were precise and methodical. The unknown ships targeted communications first, then weapon systems, then life support. They ignored escape pods. These aren't random attacks, said Frank after viewing all the footage. This is textbook military strategy. Whoever they are, they've studied warfare. And they know the Federation hasn't, added Diane. They're exploiting that weakness. Mixalan looked troubled. Our ships have weapons, but they're outdated. Most have never been fired outside of training, and half our future officers just quit. We need to warn the Council, said Jack. These attacks follow patterns we've seen in Earth's history. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's the beginning of a conquest. Back in the Council chamber, Jack presented their analysis. He explained how the attack pattern matched historical examples of calculated military campaigns, not random violence or mistakes. We believe these attackers know exactly what they're doing, Jack concluded, and they know the Federation isn't prepared to fight back. The Council listened in stunned silence. For generations, they had believed their peaceful civilization was secure. The idea of actual warfare seemed impossible. What would you have us do? Asked Vortal finally. We cannot become a war-making society. Peace is our foundation. Peace should always be the goal, agreed Jack. But sometimes you need to defend it. Earth can help. Our fleet is small compared to yours, but our ships and crews have combat experience. Meanwhile, Olivia continued working with the Academy cadets, who hadn't quit. After learning about the attacks, many more were thinking of resigning. Olivia found Mixalan in the Academy garden sitting alone. I've been thinking about quitting too, Mixalan admitted. I joined to honor my family tradition, not to fight in a real war. No one wants to fight in a real war, said Olivia. Those who do are dangerous. We fight because there's no other choice. But I don't know how. None of us do. Our training is all ceremonial. We learn to march in formation and look impressive in uniform. We never learn actual combat tactics. Olivia sat down beside the young Valaxian. Fear is normal. I was terrified during my first battle on Mars. Everyone is. How did you handle it? I focused on my job, on protecting my teammates. Sometimes being brave isn't about not feeling fear. It's about doing what's necessary despite being afraid. Mixlan was quiet for a moment. The other cadets look to me now. Those who stayed. They expect me to lead them. Then lead them. Learn what you need to know, then teach them. As they talked, Peter rushed into the garden. You both need to come quickly. The long-range sensors have detected something big heading toward Federation space. They hurried to the command center where Jack and the others were already gathered. A large screen showed a star map with multiple red dots moving toward Federation territory. 27 ships, said Kielva, his voice grim. Much larger than the ones that attacked our outposts. How long until they reach populated systems? Asked Jack. 8 days at their current speed, answered Zixtor. The council is still debating the response. Some want to send a welcome message believing this might still be a peaceful first contact. After they attacked 4 outposts? Diane shook her head in disbelief. The Federation hasn't faced war in so long they've forgotten what it looks like, said Kielva. Many can't accept that we might be under attack. Jack looked at the map, then at his team. We need to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. If these ships have hostile intentions, the Federation needs to be ready. But how? Asked Mixlan. Our ships aren't prepared for combat. Our crews have no experience. Then we'll have to help them get ready, said Jack. Frank, Diane, work with the Federation fleet commanders. Teach them basic combat maneuvers and tactics. Olivia, continue working with the cadets. They need to understand what they might be facing. And what about the council? Asked Peter. I'll keep trying to convince them of the danger, said Jack. But we need a backup plan in case they don't act quickly enough. Later that day, Jack sent an encrypted message to Earth. He explained the situation and requested permission to offer Earth's military assistance to the Federation. It would take at least 3 days to get a response. That evening, Mixlan called. Together, the remaining Academy cadets, nearly 100 gathered in the main hall. I know many of you are afraid, Mixlan began. I am too. We never expected to face real combat. But whatever is coming toward us doesn't care if we're ready or not. Lieutenant Ray and the other humans have offered to teach us what they know about defending against aggression. I'm going to learn from them. I invite you to join me. To Olivia's surprise, every cadet in the room stayed. Even more surprising, the next morning a few of the cadets who had quit returned, asking to rejoin the academy. Why did you come back? Olivia asked one of them. Because Mixlan reminded us why we joined in the first place, the cadet answered. Not to fight wars, but to protect peace. Sometimes that means learning things we'd rather not know. 7 days passed quickly. The Federation Council finally accepted the reality of the threat after more outposts went silent. They authorized their fleet to prepare for defense, but years of peace had left them unprepared. Many ship captains had never fired their weapons outside of training exercises. On the 8th day, the message Jack had been waiting for arrived from Earth. The United Earth government had agreed to send their small but battle-ready fleet to help the Federation. 10 Earth warships would arrive within 48 hours. Jack called a meeting with the Federation military leaders and his team. Earth is sending ships, but they won't arrive before the unknown fleet reaches the Proxima Drift, he explained, pointing to a region of space on the star map. We need to slow them down. How? Asked Admiral Jortex, the head of the Federation. Fleet. Our ships have never fought a real battle. We'll help, said Jack. I want to place human advisors on your lead ships, veterans who can guide your crews through combat situations. And what about the Academy cadets? Asked Mixlan, who had earned a place at these meetings through her leadership of the remaining students. Those who are willing could serve as communication officers between our advisors and your crews, suggested Olivia. You understand both cultures and languages better than translation systems. For the next day, they prepared as best they could. Frank, Diane, and other human veterans were assigned to Federation ships. Mixlan and 20 other cadets volunteered to join them as communication officers. The Federation gathered 45 ships at the Proxima Drift to intercept the unknown fleet. Mixlan was assigned to the flagship, the Guardian of Peace, along with Olivia. The young Valaxian looked different now. Gone was the curious, innocent cadet. In her place stood a focused officer, still afraid but determined. "I never thought my first real mission would be combat," Mixlan said as they prepared to depart the station. "Most of us don't get to choose when we face our fears," replied Olivia. "We just have to face them when they come." As the Federation fleet took position at the Proxima Drift, the unknown ships slowed their approach. For the first time, the Federation got a clear look at them. They were large, dark vessels with unusual designs that matched no known species. "They're scanning us," reported the sensor officer on the Guardian of Peace. "They seem surprised to find our fleet waiting." "They expected no resistance," said Olivia. "That's why they sabotaged the Academy presentation. They wanted to weaken your military before they arrived." Admiral Jortex opened a communication channel. "Unknown vessels, this is Admiral Jortex of the Galactic Federation. You have entered our territory and attacked our outposts without provocation. We ask that you state your intentions and withdraw immediately." For a long moment, there was no response. Then a harsh voice answered in broken Federation standard. "We are the Corvin Imperium. Your territory is now ours. Surrender or be destroyed." "The Corvin?" Jortex looked confused. "We have no records of such a species." "They must have been watching from beyond known space," suggested Olivia. "Learning your languages, studying your defenses." "Waiting for the perfect moment to strike," added Mixlan, "when our military was at its weakest." The Corvin ships began moving into attack formation. They clearly expected the Federation vessels to retreat or surrender. Instead, following human advice, the Federation fleet spread out in a defensive pattern. "They're targeting our flagship," warned the sensor officer. "Energy weapons charging." "Raise shields," ordered Admiral Jortex. "Prepare to return fire." For many of the Federation crew, this was the moment when everything became real. They had trained their whole lives without expecting to use that training. Now they faced actual combat. For the first time in generations, the Corvin ships fired first. Energy beams lashed out, striking several Federation vessels. Shields flared as they absorbed the impacts. The flagship shook violently. "Return fire," ordered Jortex, following the battle plan Jack had helped create. The Federation ships fired, their weapons. Many shots missed their targets, the result of crews who had never fired in actual combat conditions. But enough hit to surprise the Corvin vessels, which clearly hadn't expected effective resistance. Mixlan worked quickly at her station, relaying information between Olivia and the Federation crew. Despite her fear, she remained focused on her duty. "They're regrouping," Olivia observed as the Corvin ships pulled back slightly. "They didn't expect us to fight back effectively." For the next hour, the battle continued. The Federation ships suffered damage, but they held their position. The Corvin seemed increasingly frustrated by the unexpected resistance. Then sensors detected new ships arriving. The Earth fleet had arrived early, moving at maximum speed to join the battle. Though smaller than both the Federation and Corvin vessels, the Earth ships moved with precision and confidence. They targeted the Corvin flanks, disrupting their formation. Captain Susan Reyes of the Earth vessel. Intrepid contacted the Guardian of Peace. "Looks like you could use some help, Admiral. The cavalry has arrived." With the Earth ships joining the battle, the tide began to turn. The Corvin, faced with unexpected and effective resistance, began to pull back. "They're retreating," announced the sensor officer. A cheer went up from the Federation crew. For the first time in their lives, they had faced real danger and survived. But Olivia and Mixlan knew the battle wasn't truly over. "They'll be back," said Olivia quietly. This was just their first attempt. 3 days later, after the damaged ships had returned to the station for repairs, the Federation Council called a special session. They had received a communication from the Corvin Imperium requesting peace talks. "They want to negotiate now," said Vortal to the assembled representatives. They claim they didn't understand we were a unified alliance. They say they thought our outposts were independent colonies. They're lying, said Jack. They attacked precisely because they thought the Federation was weak. They only want to talk now because they discovered we can fight back. Nevertheless, we must pursue peace, insisted Vortal. Violence cannot be our answer. Peace should always be the goal, agreed Jack. But negotiate from strength, not weakness. They respect strength. That's the only reason they're willing to talk now. In the weeks that followed, the Federation began to change. The Academy was reformed with a new curriculum. Military training now included actual defense tactics alongside the traditional ceremonies. Earth was formally invited to join the Federation, bringing their unique perspective to the peaceful civilization. Mixlan was offered a teaching position at the new academy. Her experience during the battle had given her insights that other Federation instructors lacked. Her first lecture to the new cadets, which included both Federation species and a few humans, became famous throughout the Federation. We do not train for war because we desire it, she told her students. We train so we understand its true cost. Understanding that cost makes us work twice as hard for peace. But if peace fails, we will be ready to defend it. Olivia sat in the back of the classroom, watching with pride as her former student became a teacher. The path ahead would not be easy. The Corvin threat remained, and the Federation's long peace had ended. But perhaps this new understanding between humans and the Federation would create something stronger than either could achieve alone. As Mixlan finished her lecture, she noticed Olivia and smiled. Then she addressed her students once more. Today, we begin a new chapter in Federation history. We will learn from Earth's past without repeating it. We will maintain our commitment to peace while acknowledging that sometimes peace must be defended. And most importantly, we will remember that understanding the darkness helps us better appreciate the light.